Hi, my name's Phil Holland. I'm a director and cinematographer based out of Los Angeles, California. And kind of what I've been up to during the pandemic pause has been a lot of staying at home. And due to NAB and even Cinegear coming up being canceled, I've been fortunate enough to be testing lots of camera equipment and things. I tend to specialize in high resolution, high quality motion picture imaging. Most people lately have been knowing me for my 4K and 8K and sometimes beyond those resolutions content for various display manufacturers, tech companies, occasionally an IMAX feature or something like that. And then most recently, something I was very fortunate to pick up was the new RED Komodo camera, which is behind me. That's the thing I'm currently beating on and trying to figure out. I picked it up last Friday, which was the second to last day of May, so kind of a brand new camera, very small. I even have a small lens on there, which is interesting. And it's a 6K digital cinema camera. It's kind of cubic in nature, a block basically. What can I tell people about it that's interesting? Well, it's got a global shutter, so that's interesting. But particularly it's got a global shutter sensor that has decent dynamic range. So that's kind of a groundbreaking technology in our field. It also records red code RAW on board to CFast 2.0 cards. Uses Canon BP batteries right on the camera, so you can rig this thing and pare it down real small. And then there's lots of little interesting improvements and things like that. The body will actually do wireless monitoring on its own through an app, which is pretty fantastic. There's some really interesting sensor and optical improvements, which for people concerned with image quality, it's quite important to me. So that's been fun. And really what I've been trying to do is actually test it out fully, discover all of its newness, seeing what the system can and can't do, what it should be used for, at least in my world. I've been rigging it up a bazillion ways. It's significantly smaller than the RED DSMC2 bodies that I've been filming with. I mean, I can have that thing configured in a shooting capacity in under 4 pounds, which is nuts. Because like a DSMC2 body is 3 to 3.5, 4 pounds already, and then if you put a battery plate on there, you're already up to like 5.5 pounds. So it's been kind of an eye-opener in terms of maybe using it as a POV camera, crash cam. I think it's an interesting one. It's obviously RED's lowest price point camera. I think it's confusing the market to a degree because people are asking about what they should do with their cameras, and I kind of tell them to look at your frame rates and, you know, if you have 8K resolution and stuff like that. Komodo's kind of a very tightly designed ecosystem to do exactly what it does. And it's really all about that global shutter and doing what it does uniquely, I guess. So, and I do think it'll be kind of an A cam or a B cam for a lot of people. For people who haven't been able to step up to the big boy bodies, definitely an A cam possibility. It's totally doable. But for many people, at least in my world, for like features and things like that, where we're probably using like a Monstro or something as a camera, we're going to probably be using it as a B camera or a POV. I probably will be using it quite often on gimbals because it's like built for handheld type of movements. That global shutter solves all of the rolling shutter issues when you're kind of even grabbing it, you know, by hand and just jogging it around. It's pretty impressive in that way. And I think the other stuff is, you know, it's a Super 35 sensor. So I've been testing lots of lenses, lens adapters. I'm kind of a lens nut, and you know, checking out all the focal reducers / speed boosters and stuff's been really fun. But yeah, it's been a moment of discovery for me. You know, the pandemic pause has been interesting. For me personally, it's been actually a quite busy time. I've been working on some color-related work, color science-related work. There's been a couple of completely remote productions that were done in a very interesting way from my perspective, that were fully remote. meaning no crew on set. We provided specific instructions on triple disinfected equipment to talents' homes so they could set up the equipment. And we gave them basically a floor plan to put things down. And we were able to fully remote control, in this case, 1 to 3 red monsters, depending on the shoot, through the internet, basically, and monitoring through the internet. It was quite odd. Almost felt like kind of a broadcast sort of environment, except you're not in a television studio. You're kind of in your home looking at what's going on. And I know there's been some very socially distant shoots going on, but as the world's like opening up, I think a lot of people are trying to figure out how to work safely on set. And I think, the most obvious ones are we're going to be on top of sanitizing everything. We're going to be wearing gloves. We're going to be wearing masks. We want to keep everyone healthy. I think the notable thing about the motion picture industry is we always tend to side with safety and caution. We're always moving big heavy lights and cameras and sharp things and stuff like that, and we do everything in our power to keep everybody safe on set. And I think it's no different with the pandemic. I think we're just going to work very hard to keep everyone healthy and happy. Some productions have implemented 14-day quarantines and kind of doing almost like a sleepaway camp mentality, which I think is kind of fun, because that's kind of what it's like when you're working on a feature film. You kind of turn off the rest of the world while you're working on something for 30 to 90 days or longer, depending on the film. For smaller productions, I think it's going to be a little bit more interesting. There's going to be a lot of, for those 1 to 5 day shoots, it's going to be showing up. No one's going to really ever know what people look like because everyone's going to be wearing masks, and it's going to be kind of an interesting experience. I can't wait to start seeing crew photos at the end of productions where you just never know who's really there. It's going to be looking like everyone just robbed a bank or something with all the bandit sort of attire. But yeah, I guess I should make a statement about like NAB being canceled and what it's actually done to our industry. Obviously lives are way more important than anything, but it's been interesting because we've had sort of a pretty big pause in advancements. And at least from the manufacturers that I'm close with, it's been a good thing and a bad thing. For some products that are technically really challenging to bring to market, it's allowed them to, give more time to programmers to tool things like HDR monitors, new high-end lighting that does crazy weird gamut control stuff, or whatever. But at the same time, it's obviously impacted everyone in terms of staying in business. No one's ever going to be meeting their sales expectations for the years. That's small change really when it comes down to it. But as things are opening back up, I remember when they lifted the shelter at home thing here in LA, I started getting emails from people. Oh, hey, this place is not open. I can't find any of this, that, or this. And I kind of just said, hey, it's going to take everyone just a minute to get back up to speed, because there's been a pause in manufacturing. There's been a pause in stocking. All the retail stores were slow to open. They have to disinfect a store. And it's been interesting to see how people respond to that. And I'm very fortunate to own a great deal of equipment. That's how I've modeled my particular career. And I still do rent, and I'm always getting expendables and things like that. And it hasn't really hit me that way on getting started on things, but for the vast majority of the industry that does do rental or just needs to pick up just things because they have to get back to work and rental houses were also closed, it's been an interesting time. And strangely, in a situation like this, people like me did pretty well because I'm fortunate to own my own equipment. So, lights, cameras, audio even, nothing really hindered me from working when the opportunities started popping up again. But you have to be careful, and you have to be safe, and you have to keep things clean. So, yeah. Other than that, I really look forward to speaking at NAB. I usually do a few panels and talk about industry trends. I think if I had to give you the briefest summary of what I think is going on in the industry, I think we're seeing some 8K cameras. I think we're it's, you know, pretty obvious that every manufacturer is making 4K cameras now. My general world is interesting because I've been producing 8K content for years, and that's just going to be an increasing trend as the general industry tries to move to more of a 4K streaming and delivery mentality more and more. That's the real thing that's happening. Like, you're going to see a lot of shows transitioning to 4K. I've been helping out with that quite a bit in terms of just finishing resolution. They might be capturing in 6K or 7K or 8K or whatever they're doing, whatever camera system they're using too. But yeah, I think you're going to start seeing higher quality content coming into the home. I'm quite concerned about the theaters, movie theaters. You know, it's very hard to survive when your customer base and audience just can't show up. And now it's going to be interesting as things slowly open back up. And fortunately, we have some pretty big films to attract people to theaters. You know, Nolan's Tenet is obviously a focus, but I personally still think a theater is a really great way to see a film, probably the best way, more often than not, for most people. And I really want to see that ecosystem survive after this. Once it's safe to gather, and you know, maybe we'll have to do some socially distanced seating. So instead of a full theater, we'll have like a third full or a half full, or I don't know what we'll do. But that's definitely on my mind. And meanwhile, it's a perfect opportunity for all the streaming services. We just had HBO Max launch, Apple TV Plus already happened, Netflix has been around for a long time, Hulu, Amazon, and so forth. And right around the corner we got Peacock. So for people who have been staying at home, and some of the people who will probably be working at home for the rest of the year even, you know, they can get their fill of whatever they want streamed. I think it's going to be another situation where content's always king. So who's got the good stuff will attract the eyeballs, and luckily it seems like most of the streaming services are pretty affordable, although when you start adding a few of them together they get up there. But you know, oh, and Disney Plus launched too. That was great. Should mention that. So I don't know. It's a good time for working in the entertainment industry because we have all of these new distribution outlets and new ways of getting our content into the eyes of viewers. And I'm just really hoping that we can all get back to working and start creating some new stuff pretty soon. So yeah, and that's about it for me. I got to get back to work here, but hopefully I'll see you guys at next NAB, if not sooner. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.